can you divide with greater numbers? Think about this question during the lesson. A tortilla bakery makes 863 packages of tortillas to sell to restaurants. Each restaurant receives the same number of packages as a complete order. How many restaurants can receive a complete order? What division sentence do you need to solve? How do you know that there will be some packages left over? Solve 863 divided by 18 equals. There will be some packages left over because 863 is an odd number, but 18 is an even number. Use place value structure to divide 863 by 18. First, use compatible numbers to estimate 863 divided by 18. Which is the best estimate?
Select your answer.
$900 divided by 20 is equal to 45 is the best estimate, so the quotient is about 45. The first digit of the quotient will be in the tens place. Start by dividing the tens. Step 1. Divide. Step 2. Multiply. Step 3. Subtract. Step 4. Compare. Since 14 is less than 18, you will need to trade 14 tens for 140 ones in the next step. Next, bring down the ones. Think of 143 ones divided into 18 groups. How would you estimate the quotient? Estimate 143 divided by 18 using 140 divided by 20 is equal to 7. Place a 7 in the ones place. Multiply 7 times 18 and subtract. Since 17 is less than 18, there are 17 packages left over. Write the remainder, R17. The answer is reasonable since 47 is close to the estimate, 45. The bakery can sell complete orders to 47 restaurants. Now you know how to divide with greater numbers.
Great job!
Workers at an electronics company packed 2,610 smartphones in boxes. Each box holds 9 smartphones. How many boxes do they fill?
They've already set up the division for us by writing the 2,610 and the 9. And so now all we have to do is actually divide. So they already set it up where 9 cannot go into 2, but 9 can go into 26. 9 times 2 is 18. So they already have 18. And then we have to subtract. So we have to regroup, and that becomes a 1. 16 minus 8 is 8. Then you have to bring down the next number. You have 81. 9 times what equals 81? 9. So 9 times 9 is 81. And that equals 0. But we still have this 0. So we have to bring that down. That's 0. 9 goes into 0 0 times. And 0 minus 0 equals 0. So we have 290 boxes that they would have to fill with these smartphones.
How can you write a decimal quotient when dividing whole numbers? Find 180 divided by 8.
We have 180 divided by 8, and they estimated first So you have the breakdown here of the long division. 108 divided by 8. 8 goes into 18 twice. That equals 16. 18 minus 16 is 2. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 20 twice. That's 16. 20 minus 16 is 4. So there we have our division there. And then, excuse me, without using remainders, what they're showing us in this one is once you get to this 4, because that is not a 0, we technically can continue dividing. So we're going to make that annex 0 here, and we're going to put a decimal. And that decimal must also go at the top. So now you drop down that 0, and now instead of just having 4, you have 40. And then 8 can go on to 45 times, and then 40 minus 40 is 0. Now we are done dividing with no remainders.
Use the division algorithm to divide with decimals. Part A. Find $809.40 divided by 12. Use a bar diagram to represent the division problem. The model shows the dividend divided into 12 pieces, each representing n dollars. The quotient is the value of n. Before finding the quotient precisely, let's use compatible numbers to estimate, and then divide the numbers to solve. The number 809 40 is close to 840. Choosing 840 is useful because 840 divided by 12 equals 70. The number 70 is a good estimate of the quotient. Now write the dividend in the division house, and then write the divisor. Start dividing in the tens place. 6 times 12 is equal to 72, the greatest multiple of 12 that is less than 80. So 6 is the first digit of the quotient. The next step is to subtract 72 from 80. Write the difference, which is 8. Now bring down the next digit from the dividend, which is 9. Repeat the same steps as many times as needed to complete the division problem. The next digit of the quotient is 7. 7 times 12 equals 84. Subtract, and then bring down the digit 4 from the dividend. Place the decimal point in the quotient above the decimal point in the dividend. The next digit of the quotient is 4. 4 times 12 is 48. Subtract and bring down the digit 0. The last digit of the quotient is 5 because 5 times 12 equals 60. The remainder is 0. Following the algorithm shows that the quotient to the division problem is $67.45. Notice that the quotient is close to our estimate of 70, so the answer is reasonable. Use the division algorithm to divide with decimals. Part B. Find $4.20 divided by $1.40. Use a bar model to represent the division problem. The model shows the dividend being divided into pieces that each represent $1.40. The quotient n is the number of pieces that would make the bar diagram complete. Begin by writing the dividend and the divisor in the division house. Notice that the divisor is a decimal. To avoid division by a decimal, you can multiply both the divisor and the dividend by the same power of 10. Choose a power of 10 that will make the divisor a whole number. Multiply $1.40 and $4.20 by 10 squared, or 100. To multiply by 100, move the decimal point 2 places to the right in both the divisor and the dividend. This creates an equivalent division problem. 420 divided by 140. Now it's time to divide. 3 times 140 is exactly 420, so 3 is the quotient. There is no remainder. You may need to place a decimal point in the quotient directly above the decimal in the dividend. In this problem, a decimal point is not needed. So, $4.20 divided by $1.40 equals 3.
Divide each expression.
We're going to take each of these one at a time and divide. I'm going to use different colors for each one. So 65 divided by A. I'm going to write it for a long division. And then 8 goes into 65. How many times? 8 times what equals something close to 60 would be 8. 8 times 8 is 64. And then 65 minus 64 is 1. Then we're going to add a decimal here and a 0. We're going to drop that 0. 8 goes into 10 once. That equals 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. I'm going to add another 0. Drop it down. Then I get a 20. 8 goes into 20 twice. That's going to give us 16. So then we have to subtract 20 and 16. That equals 4. Then I add another 0. Drop it down. And then 8 goes into 40 5 times. And then 8 times 5 is 40. So then 40 minus 40 will equal 0. So the quotient would be the 8 and 125 thousandths. Now we're going to move on to B. I'm going to set it up. 8 and then 14 and 4/10. Alright, so 8 goes into 14 one time. And then we have that equals 8. 14 minus 8 is 6. And then we're going to drop down that 4. Make sure we put our decimal that's already in our problem at the top there. So 8 goes into 64 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. That's going to equal 0. We're done dividing. Now we're going to move on to C. Now we have 1 and 4/10. 1 and 4/10 divided into 128 and 8/10. Alright, and because we have a decimal here, we're going to have to, in our divisor, we're going to have to move it over on both the divisor and dividend. So we're going to move the decimal over 1 space here. We're going to also move it 1 space here. So I'm going to just rewrite this over to the side. Now I have 14 divided into 128. Well, actually 1,288. That's now what it's going to be with that decimal moving over. So now we have 14 goes into 1, can't do it. 14 goes into 12, can't do that either. 14 goes into 128 is going to give us, excuse me, it's going to give us 9. So 14 times 9 is going to give me 126. I'm going to subtract that. 8 minus 6 is 2. And then the rest is going to equal 0. Going to drop down that 8. 14 goes into 28 twice. And so we have 28. That is 0. And so we're done dividing. So our quotient for C will be 92.